Hi, I'm Lucia Sheehan, and I am the Executive Director and the founder of Violence Free Living. Today is our fifth session, our last session, and we're going to talk about personal boundaries, nonviolent communication, and what a healthy relationship looks like, or just to name a few of the things we're going to talk about. I do want to tell you about the pretest. Please, if you have not taken the pretest yet, take the pretest. You can find the pretest at the site below. And then also for everyone that has followed these five sessions, please take the post test. We really need you to fill out the pre and post test. That helps us get future funding for our program for the nonprofit and to keep us going. We also welcome any questions that you have. Please send us any questions that you have, and we will be more than happy to respond to those, and we will respond to each and every one of them. Thank you so much. So before we get into today's topic of communication skills, let me just reiterate a little bit of what we talked about last week. Last week we talked about the effects of violence and why do victims stay. And then up till now we've talked about violence in general. We talked about the types of violence, and we've talked about the differences that some people come at you with violence, or some of the tactics that some people use. I'll put it that way. Violence can be physical and harsh and hard. It can be manipulation and control. It can also be a way of making you doubt. It's very subtle and making you doubt your own mind, your own way of thinking. Violence can be extremely violent to very, very soft. And this whole class is helping you understand and to be able to identify and look at violent situations. So now we're going to get into some good things, some communication, positive things. So nonviolent communication, respect, I statements, and the 5 love languages we're going to talk about first. And these are all healthy communication skills. So the first one we're going to talk about is the nonviolent communication. Nonviolent communication is a way of leading from the heart, of hearing from the heart, of listening from the heart. We perceive relationships in a new light when we use nonviolent communication. It deepens what others need. We hear more of what others need, but it also deepens what we need, and we can express more of what we need. We learn to receive and to give both. Most of us grew up in an environment speaking a language that encourages us to label, compare, demand, and judge, rather than to be aware of what we are feeling and needing, or to be aware of what others are feeling and needing. There are 4 components to nonviolent communication. There's observation, there's feelings, there's a needs, and there's requests. You have to have all 4 of these components present when you're using nonviolent communication. First, we have to observe what is actually happening in any situation. What are we observing others say or doing that is enriching or not enriching our life? Then state how we feel when that action is being observed. Are we happy? Are we sad? Are we irritated? Are we angry? We have to identify those feelings with that. Then we have to say what we need to help those feelings that we've identified. And then hopefully we have a request. What could be requested to help solve that situation that's going on? And here's a real quick example. A mother says to John, when I see two balls of soiled socks on the floor, I feel irritated because I need more order in the room that we share. Would you mind picking up your socks and just getting them out of here? I don't care if you throw them in the washer, if you throw them in your room, just get them out of here. Now, that mother has told her son all 4 of those things. She observed the socks, how it made her feel, what she needed, and she had a solution for it. Communication that blocks compassion is moralistic judgment, and that implies wrongness and badness on the part of the people who don't act in our harmonies. The problem with you is that you're too lazy. The problem with her is that she's too selfish. The problem with them is that they're too prejudiced. We always judge what others are doing, and that's very inappropriate. We blame, we insult, we put down, we label, we criticize, we compare, and diagnose are all forms of judgment. Judgment only allows us to see others as good or bad, normal, abnormal, responsible, irresponsible, smart or ignorant, and on and on and on. When we don't like what someone else does, we look at their wrongness instead of what they might need. Here's some examples. If my boss says something that I don't want to do, then I think he's being unreasonable. Instead of trying to figure out, okay, he needs this done, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But a lot of people, instead of doing that, they're going to argue and complain because that's not what they want to do, instead of listening to what he might need or she might need. How about if someone pulls out of you in front of traffic, and most of the time you go, oh man, you idiot. You might do that. You might yell. Instead, take a deep breath and think, you know what? Maybe they need that space more than I do. Maybe they just found out that somebody in their family was hurt, or maybe they just lost their job. Or maybe sometimes I know I have in the past, maybe I just ran through a stop light that I didn't even know. I didn't even think about it. Maybe it was just something like that. It wasn't anything I did to try and hurt you. So instead of judging me, try and give me the benefit of the doubt. Example, if my partner wants more affection than I'm willing to give him, then I think he's needy and dependent. But guess what? If I want more affection than he's willing to give me, then I think he's a loaf and insensitive. See how that works? How about at work? If my coworker is more concerned about details than I am, then I think he's being picky and he's compulsive. But if I'm more concerned about details than he is, then I think he's sloppy and disorganized. It always comes back to what I want. If I want to look at your wrongness because you don't align with what I want. Denial of responsibility is also very dangerous. And we're dangerous when we are not conscious of our responsibility, of how we behave, how we think, and how we feel. We have to be honest. We have to tell the truth so that people get the right image of who we are. Here's an example. I might have said, I cleaned my room last night. Perfectly good example. Perfectly good sentence, right? But how about if I told you the truth? I cleaned my room last night because I haven't cleaned my room for a year. That gives you a whole different picture of me. That's just a small example of that example. How about I hit my child because he ran in the street? That's a good sentence. But what if I would have told you I hit my child because he ran into the street when I was next door at my neighbor's having a drink? That's a whole different image that you have of me, right? So we have to be responsible for our behavior and not just try and blame it on other people. Thinking on who deserves what blocks compassionate communication. The more people are trained to think in terms of moralistic judgments that imply wrongness and badness, the more they need to look outside themselves for someone else to define what is wrong and what is right. And most of the time we give that power over to the authorities, and they tell us what's right and what's wrong. We have to start taking responsibility. And one way we would like to start communicating, so that the ultimate way of communicating, I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to start working from the bottom up. You know, we might blame ourselves. We accept other people's judgment on us. You have no right to say that. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't. Or we might be the one that's blaming others. That's wrong. Why do you do that? Or the third way is sensing and feeling others' needs. Now we're starting to hear and we're starting to listen. And the whole thing about communication, because communication's hard, is to open up a passageway so we can communicate. We can talk without being critical or condescending or putting the other person down. So the first one is if somebody's talking to you and you start sensing what they're saying, you start sensing what they need and what they feel. So you might say something like, when I hear you say that, I'm hurt because I think I need more recognition for doing what I do. So now you understand. Now it's out there in the open and we have something to talk about. But the best one, the top one would be if someone's talking to you and you finally get it. And you look at them and you say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Are you trying to tell me that you feel hurt because you need more recognition around here? And when I do that, it kind of belittles you. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Do you see how that opens up the communication? That helps each other. It's there's no criticism there. There's no condemning each other. There's no argument. When we put somebody on the defense, there's going to be more anger. There's going to be more argument going on. Here's some examples of that, to be honest and to be upfront about the whole thing. You disappointed me by not coming over last night. That's a good sentence, but I'm kind of putting blame on you, aren't I? You disappointed me. How about if I would have told you the truth and I would have said, I was disappointed you didn't come over last night because I wanted to talk some things over with you. That's a whole different scenario. I didn't put any blame on you. I didn't put any blame on me. I just told you the truth and what I really wished had happened. Now we can talk about it and there's an open conversation between the two of us. And then we're going to go on to respect. What is respect? Well, you have to give it to get it. Absolutely. Respect is a pattern of healthy behavior that is found in a relationship. A pattern of healthy behavior. A pattern is something that is continue over and over and over and over. It's not one-time thing. It's not something you do for somebody or you do to somebody because you want something in return. It's who you are. When you respect yourself or someone else, then you're going to start expecting more than common or deceit behavior from them or from yourself. Respect goes a long way within yourself and respecting others. People who respect each other talk honestly and freely. They make decisions together all the time. It's not somebody dictating or somebody always making the choices and saying what's going to happen. We make decisions together. You trust and support each other. That's what you're there for. Remember, I said earlier that that's the one place that you're safe. Your partner should be the one place that you're safe with. You value each other's independence. You cannot be everything for someone else, nor can they be everything for you. You still have to allow people to have friends and their family and other input into their lives. So we value that independence. You affirm each other all the time. Thank you for being in my life. I love that you're my child. I love that you were brought into my life. Thanks for doing this or thanks for doing that. That goes a long way with respecting someone. Encourage each other to spend time with their friends and family. Have the freedom to be themselves. Allow people to be themselves. Please don't get in a relationship and think you're going to try and change somebody. Instead, why not look for somebody who fits your boundaries, where the relationship's going to start off healthy? Because it's not healthy to try and change somebody, and it's certainly not healthy to have somebody try and change you. So, what is a healthy relationship? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to go through 12 qualities of a healthy relationship, and these are certainly not all of them, but these are some items for a healthy relationship. So 1, mutual respect. Respect means that each person values who the other is and they understand the other person's boundaries. And we're going to talk about boundaries here in just a little bit. So we have to understand and respect each other's boundaries. Trust. No relationship is healthy without trust. Trust each other and give the benefit of the doubt. Honesty. The honesty builds trust in a relationship. It strengthens the relationship. If you are caught in a lie, it takes a long time to rebuild that trust again. Sometimes never, but it takes a long time. It could even damage your relationship more than that. You could end the relationship. Trust is a major thing. And if you don't have respect, if you don't have trust, if you don't have honesty, then you don't have a relationship. You might think you do, but that's not a relationship. Compromise. Please compromise. Tell yourself right here today that you're not always going to get your way. Acknowledge the different points of view and be willing to give and take. Without compromise in a relationship, there's going to become a power struggle. And when there's a power struggle, normally it's going to escalate. Individuality. Please never compromise who you are or base your identity on your partner. You know who you are. Please allow you to be you and allow them to be them. Good communication. Speak honestly and openly to avoid miscommunication. If you need time to sort out your feelings, your partner should respect that and give you that time. I can't deal with what I don't know. That's the saying I love. I can't deal with what I don't know. So if you're not honest with me, how can I deal with it? And if you're hiding something, how can we have a strong relationship? Anger control. Everybody gets angry. Everybody gets angry. But how you express it, it's going to affect your relationship. Express anger in healthy ways, like taking a deep breath, counting to 10, talking it out, or stomping on Dixie cup. That was one of my favorites when I was going through a lot of my trauma when I was dealing with it. I would buy those little Dixie cups and I put them on the floor in my kitchen. I would just stomp on them because what that did is it helped me feel like I was physically hitting something, but it also got all that emotion out for me. Problem solving. You can learn to solve problems and identify a new solution if you break that problem down into small parts, talking through the situation. Sometimes our problems seem enormous, but if we just look at it, take one little piece of it and handle the one little piece, that's much better than looking at the whole problem. Because if we take one little piece and resolve that, then we take another little piece and resolve that, before we know it, the whole problem is solved. Fighting fair. Everyone argues, but those who stick to the subject and avoid insults are more likely to come up with a possible solution. Understanding. Try and understand what others are feeling. It's not just about you, it's about others too. How about self-confidence? Having confidence in yourself can help your relationship with others. It allows others to express their feelings without forcing yours. If you have self-confidence, other people know that. I don't have to shove all my views down your throat. I don't have to make you see things my way. Being a role model. Please always give respect. You're going to inspire others to give respect. And being a role model, you never really know when you are a role model, especially with children around. We are all role models. We don't know who's looking at us, who's liking what we do, what we say, our mannerisms, whatever it is. You never know. So why not always have respect for yourself, respect for others, and be that role model? Then we're going to get into I statements. I statements are great. I statements help us find our voice. I statements help us understand who we are. It's not about the other person. They help us understand who we are. Again, I statements also help us have a communication without blame. We did this with one of the guys in one of my first classes 11 years ago. It was one of my very first classes. We were talking about I statements. He commented, he says, well, how would we do I statements with my wife? And I said, well, what's going on? And he said, well, and I'm not an expert of I statements. These were just ideas and suggestions. He said, well, she goes out drinking a couple times a month with her girlfriends, and that's not what bothers him. What bothered him is the way she looked. He thought she always looked like a hoochie mama or a tramp or something. And so he would tell her, I said, well, what would you tell her? He said, I would tell her that she's not going out looking that way. She has to go upstairs and change her clothes. As an adult, that's probably not going to work on too many people, if anybody. Nobody wants somebody else as an adult to tell them you're not going to go somewhere and change your clothes. But if he would have maybe addressed it in a little different way where he put that on himself, maybe if he said things like, I don't understand. I feel that when you dress that way, you're so beautiful, and I think you take that beauty away. Can we talk about it? Or I feel when you dress that way, I think that I'm afraid what people might say about you. Or I think when you dress that way, it kind of disrespects our relationship. His bottom line was, I feel that when you dress that way, you're going to take someone up on an offer to sleep with them. And I said, why would you think that? And he said, because I know if a woman walked in and was dressed that way, I would offer her. And I kind of looked at him, and he kind of looked at me, and I said, and it just shifted. I said, did you see where it just shifted? Because now the issue is about him. It wasn't about her at all. So the I statement helped him find out about him. And he finally realized that, because I asked him, I said, do you love her? Absolutely. Do you trust her? Yep, 100%. Do you respect her with everything I've got? If you love her and trust her and respect her, then what's the issue? What's the problem? Because you know she's not going to do anything to hurt you. And he kind of thought about that for a minute. He said, so it's my problem. It's my issue. It's my insecurities. I just found something out about myself. So I said, yeah, that was beautiful. Not only could those open up a discussion, because he wasn't criticizing her, he wasn't telling her what she had to do, but he found out about him. He found out something about him and his insecurities. The other thing with that is, I statements, I think, is that it might be hard. And if someone hears you, if someone loves you, they're going to hear you. Now, she might have listened to him. She's not going to go up and put a nun's outfit on. That's not going to happen. But if she loves him and she understands that that really bothers him, and they talk about that, the next time she goes out, maybe she'll have on just a little bit shorter heels, or maybe a jacket over her top, whatever she has on. If she loves him and if she understands and hears what he's saying, she's going to change something to let him know that she heard him. Just remember, the I statements help us understand who we are, plus it opens up a communication line instead of insults or getting someone else angry about something or condemning someone else. And just remember, with everything else, when you have relationships, you bring people into your life to enhance what you already have, not because you're filling a void or a hole. So get to know somebody before you actually bring them into your life. Understand who they are. Understand what they're about. I statements give us a voice to help us understand who we are. It's okay in a relationship to say what I need. It's okay in a relationship to say what bothers you. I have to have this in a relationship. That's okay. That's okay. And this bothers me in a relationship. If you have to bring this to our relationship, I can't tolerate that. So move on. You're going to know that up front right away. Changing behavior patterns, anger management, aggressive versus assertive behavior, survival versus vision, and setting personal boundaries. That's what we're going to talk about now. So first up is the anger management. We all get angry. We feel anger in the form of tension in our jaws and our hands, our back, our temples, maybe in here, right between your eyes. We all feel tension in our body. There's nothing wrong with expressing anger or fear or sadness or even rage. It's how we express it. And sometimes we're never taught how to express that. We're always taught to turn the other cheek. We're always taught not to show how angry we are, to control our emotions, but it's there and it's in there. But we have to release it both mentally and physically. So the first thing to do is admit and allow yourself that you're angry. I'm so angry. But identify the object of your anger. If you're angry at your boss, don't come home and take it out on your significant other. If you're angry at the kids, don't kick the dog. Know who you're angry at and address that. Take a time out. It's perfectly okay to say, you know what? I need to take a time out. I know my anger. I know my anger points. I can feel that coming. I don't want to go there. Just give me a few minutes, take a time out, and we can talk about this again. But I just need a break. I need a break. If you want to call it a break instead of a timeout, that sounds better, then go ahead. And if you do need a break and you have to go somewhere, maybe go for a walk or you have to go for a drive, let them know. I'll be back in 15, 20 minutes. I just need a little bit of a break here, and then we can continue. But if you're going to be running late and you're not going to be back in 15 or 20 minutes, please show them that respect and call them and say, you know what, I'm just running 5 minutes behind them. I'm on my way. I'll be right there. Show them that you respect them. Show them that your word means something. Share your feelings. Again, I can't deal with what I don't know. If you don't share your feelings, if you don't tell me what's going on, then how can I address it? How can I help? How can I be a part of it? Use the I statements instead of you statements. Anytime you start a sentence with you should, you're going to put the other person on the defense, and the communication is going to be blocked. It's not going to be as open. Refuse to criticize or blame. I talked a little bit about this already. There's no reason to criticize or blame. Criticize, sometimes people throw out those criticisms when they're angry or they're upset, and they hit pretty low. Sometimes they hit so low below the belt, it causes a divorce. There's no way coming back from them. So if you have someone you love, if you have someone you're happy with, then think before you make choices. Think before you say things. Why would you take the risk of losing something in the spur of a heated moment because you're upset? And blame, why do we continue to blame people? They already feel bad. We found out about it. We made our choices. We talked about it, whatever it is, but let it go. Talk about issues to prevent further occurrences. If something's bothering you, then talk about it. If something bothers you and you don't tell me about it, and it keeps building inside of you and building inside of you and building inside of you till one day you just blow up, shame on you. That's not on me, because I didn't know about it. I couldn't deal with it. If you had talked about it, maybe we could have resolved it before it got to that point. So talk about issues to prevent further occurrences. And then let it go. Once you really do decide on a solution, once you talk about it and it's over and everything's okay, or everybody's made their choices, whatever the case may be, then let it go. So the last thing I want to say about anger management is when someone gets angry and they're going off on you and they're really expressing and yelling and going and doing this and doing that, as long as they're not hurting you, as long as they're not hurting themselves or anybody, let them vent. And then when it's all done, very kindly, very gently ask them, do you want to talk about it? Is there something else going on? Because a lot of the times when we blow up, that's not the issue that's made us mad. It's a much deeper issue, and we've just let it build and build and build. Anger and aggressive behavior, the difference between them. Aggressive behavior is getting someone else to change their mind by acting in a threatening way. Whereas assertive behavior is telling your point of view and not changing your mind by being confident with who you are. Aggressive people always want to talk loud, take over the conversation, be the center of attention, controlling things, hurting people. They'll get whatever they want. They don't care who they have to go over or go through or go around. They're going to get what they want. Whereas an assertive person talks at a normal voice, is calm, doesn't have to control the group, but wants to be a part of the group, and doesn't want to hurt anybody, including them. Doesn't want to hurt you and doesn't want to hurt themselves. That's the difference between those two. So now I want to talk about personal boundaries. Personal boundaries coincide on this part of I statements. They coincide together. They go together. It helps you know yourself. Personal boundaries is learning how to set boundaries is a vital part of learning to own yourself, learning to respect yourself, and learning to love yourself. Own yourself, respect yourself, and love yourself. That's what personal boundaries are about. Two parts to a boundary. There's part one, describe the behavior you find unacceptable. I will not tolerate. Second part, describe what action or steps you're going to take to protect yourself if someone violates your boundary. I will do this if you violate my boundary. This is what's going to happen. Setting boundaries means taking responsibility, being an adult, and demanding equality and respect in a relationship. Reflecting the right to say no to things that aren't right for you. I don't have to do what I don't think is right. You don't let people talk you into doing things. It's about learning to take care of yourself no matter what happens. You take care of yourself first. Boundaries emerge as you learn to value, trust, and listen to yourself. That's when boundaries come out. Tips for setting personal boundaries. If you feel anger, rage, whining, threatened, suffocated, or victimized, those are all red flags that you need to set boundaries. All of those are red flags. Boundaries is taking care of yourself. We have the right and duty to take care of ourselves. We want to be nice. We want to help others. We want to be there for others. And that's all fine, but not at the expense of losing yourself. Not at the expense. Creating boundaries can be painful, tense, even excruciating, with hurt feelings and misunderstandings. But we must learn to say this far and no further. If you step over this far, then that's it. We're done. It means speaking up for yourself, expressing yourself, and things that are your preferences, what you need. Setting boundaries lets go of outcome. Manipulation needs the outcome. Being able to tell people what's right for you, what's good for you, and to hold your ground, that is good. That's good. Also, when you set a boundary, do it clearly and preferably without anger. You cannot, this is very important, you cannot simultaneously set a limit with someone and also take care of their feelings. They might get hurt, they might get angry, they might be upset or disappointed in you. You can't worry about that when you're setting a boundary. Setting a boundary is doing something that's healthy for me. And when I set a boundary, I can't control how somebody else chooses to feel. I have to make choices that are healthy for me. When you first begin to set a boundary, you may feel ashamed or afraid, but ultimately setting boundaries feels really good. You know who you are. It helps you define who you are. Here's some boundaries. You don't have the right to tell me what to think or invalidate my feelings. Don't vent your anger on me because I'm not going to have it. I don't want you to vent your anger on me. These are my things. Don't always take them. Ask before you use something that's mine. I won't expect your belittling jokes or criticism towards me. I won't be disrespected. If you always have to always belittling me, telling jokes about me, or disrespect me, then stay away. I don't even need you in my life. Just stay away. If we're going to have a working relationship, then I need that honesty, respect, and equality. I need to communicate when I have a misunderstanding. I need openness and sharing in a relationship. You withholding is making our relationship unhealthy. I need us to be honest. I need us to share things. We're all going to have different personal boundaries, and we're all going to have different levels of personal boundaries, but we're all going to have that one boundary. If you cross that boundary, we're done. But that's what dating's for. You're going to know that. You're going to know someone's personal boundary. And if you really love someone's personal boundary, you're going to do everything you can not to cross that boundary. There's going to be other boundaries, maybe, that you're going to say aren't quite as, they're important to me, but you might let somebody cross it once or twice or 3 times. But only you can decide that. Only you can decide what your boundaries are. Maintaining personal boundaries, ask directly for what you want. It shows the others who you are. Be objective about others' behavior towards you without getting caught up in their drama. The minute you get hung up or caught up in someone's drama, you become their victim. Maintain a bottom line. Limit how many times you allow someone to say no, lie to you, disappoint you, or betray you before you admit the painful truth and move on. Change focus of trust from others to yourself. Don't put yourself in someone else's hands. Trust and allow, believe in yourself. So now we're going to get into the 5 love languages by Gary Chapman. I don't know, the book's been around for a while. It's an awesome book. I love it. It's a very short book, but it's very powerful. And what Gary says is that there's 5 love languages. And love is a choice, and it's always a choice. And we make it daily, and we give it freely. It liberates the other person to love in return. When we give love freely, we can discuss and disagree without violence erupting. When we don't feel loved by the significant others and are constantly fighting for self-worth, then we see each other as a threat. And that's when arguing starts. We can choose to love, and we can choose to listen. And when we do that, we can resolve conflicts. Mr. Chapman tells us that when our love tanks are empty, we tend to argue more because we're looking for that self-esteem. We withdraw and possibly even become violent. When our love tanks are full, then we create a climate of friendliness and seek to understand each other. We allow differences and negotiation and problems to go on without any violence. And what he says is there's 5 love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, and acts of kindness, and physical touch. And there's a short test for this that we're going to have on our website that you're more than welcome to go see, to go take. And what he says is if you know your significant other's love language, then you can communicate on a whole different level with them. Because let's just take some of these up here. If I'm somebody that always wants, that my love language is quality time means that, focused attention, spending time together, going for a walk. It doesn't mean sitting and watching TV. It means spending quality time together. And you're always bringing me a little gift, something small, maybe little flowers or a little gift of some kind, or doing something for me. I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to like that. But that's not my love language. It's not going to inflate me. It's not going to fill me up and make me feel as loved as if you were giving me that quality time. So when we speak each other's love language and we know each other's love language, our relationships at a much higher level, because we know and our love tanks are full. That's how he explains it. Our love tanks are full when we speak the love language. When we don't speak their main love language, because we're all going to have all of these, but you're going to have a main love language. And when we don't speak that main love language, then our tanks are empty. And when our tanks are empty, we have a tendency to be more aggressive and a little bit more defensive, which causes a lot more arguing. So I highly recommend that you take that test on our website at the end of this session. And again, the website's www.violencefreeliving.org. So please take that. Choices. What about choices? Making choices is the difference between owning your life and being afraid to live. Just make a choice. Don't let others make choices for you in life. Know who you are, understand who you are, and make your own choices. Just choose. Don't be afraid to live. Just choose. It's your choice. You have a choice about the kind of relationship you want to have. You can learn to have a healthy relationship and be treated with love and well and cared by someone, or not. It's your choice. When you give respect to others, they will feel good about themselves and the relationship. They'll give you respect in return, which will make you feel great. You have to give it to get it. Making healthy choices. Please recognize abuse. We've talked through this whole 5 series about abuse. Please recognize abuse of any kind. Respect your opinions and thoughts, but also respect those opinions and thoughts of others. Speak honestly. Decide what is right for you and not what others need or want from you. This is the Violence Free Living's graph or chart. This is what it's all about. The middle of it is the self. That's you. First, you're going to learn about the abuse and the effects of abuse. And that's what we've done this whole 5 weeks. Then hopefully you're going to choose to make healthy choices and set those personal boundaries and create a belief system. And with that, you're going to find respect, love, hope, trust, and self-esteem. And when all that is fulfilled, you're going to have a healthy relationship, even if it's with yourself, and it'll be with others. That's the way we see it here at Violence Free Living. Please be kind to yourself. If you respect yourself and others, you will find love, knowledge, and freedom. I would like for you to go through every door right now, today. Believe in yourself, your creative self. Commit to your authenticity. Care for yourself. Make healthy choices. Go through all the doors of your life. Wake up every morning and be proud of who you are. That is the end of session 5. Thank you so much for joining me today. Before we end, though, before we leave, I have just a few things to say. First of all, please take the post-test. And if you haven't taken the pre-test, obviously take that one first. But I would like everybody to take the post-test, and you can find the pre- and post-test on our website, www.violencefreeliving.org. Also on that website will be the 5 love languages, the test, if you'd like to take that. And please send any questions that you have to us We will answer all questions that are given to us, and in the near future, we are going to have a live question and answer session. So we hope that you're a part of that also. I'm just going to leave you with this last thought. This slide shows hugs, honoring your greatest self. And I hope that's what you do for yourself. You're beautiful, you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye.